Fair trade has become the go-to standard for mission-based businesses that want to make a difference in the world through a proper supply chain that actually supports the workers on the other side of the world. The beauty of Zena's Gypsy Tea is we've been 100% fair trade from the opening of our doors. We have been focused on ending poverty for tea workers through better housing systems, clean water systems, preventative health care, mother-child health care, as well as education with computers and other programs like retirement funds that will help the workers after they retire. The beauty of a truly fair trade company is that they pay a very high premium for the tea itself. So not only are they giving a fair trade premium for the product, but they're also paying a very high base price for the product so that that money can also go into funding sustainable programs for the tea gardens. We're very excited that we've been 100% fair trade from the beginning. We love to be pioneers in things, and now we are looking at how to go beyond fair trade. So the children of the creche are the workers' children, and they are completely taken care of and nourished and educated here at Edulgocina. 10:30 to 11:30 they have language, health, environment study, skill development, and then follow-up. So on Fridays you follow up for the whole week on what they learned. That's very smart. So all the sales of Edulgocina tea funds the school for these beautiful, beautiful, amazing children. We live in a consumer society. We're all very, very busy. We're balancing parenthood, professional lives, bills, the current economy, and to be able to shop with our values can sometimes just push us a little over the edge. When you're walking down the supermarket aisle and there's just so much. The kids are screaming, you've got your cart full, you gotta get in and gotta get out, and what can you do when you're so overwhelmed? Well, the thing is you can educate yourself about the companies that you can get behind. The authenticity of certain companies are truly worthwhile to get to know, because I don't feel that people buy brands, I feel like people join them. So with all the certifications going around, get to know your products, get to know your companies that are making your products. That way you have a direct relationship to the source of your products and you can feel really good about each purchase. Tea is the most popular beverage in the world next to water. People drink it as if it were water in many countries. In the US, it's the 7th most popular beverage after several brands of soda. It's calorie-free and it also has antioxidants to the level that increase your health profoundly. That's why people are so attracted to tea. The downside to that is it has made tea a commodity. Commodities are auctioned year after year, and there are so many different factors that can lower a price or raise a price in a commodity market. Say one government does a large subsidy for tea that year, and it drives the global price of tea in the auctions way, way down. The problem is, as a tea estate manager who's trying to do the right thing for their workers by providing school and healthcare and maternity leave, they can never count on the money they're going to get if they're part of the auction system and the commodity system. Imagine living your life in fear that your next paycheck, you don't have no idea what it's going to be. How can you ever set a budget? How can you ever make any commitments in your life? You don't know if your house payment will be covered, if you'll have enough food. They have that problem every harvest and every auction season. So through direct trade, the model that Gypsy Tea has been practicing for the last 10 years is that we guarantee them a base price that they can always count on. They're never going to be stuck trying to negotiate with a buyer they don't know. So many of the organic fair trade tea estates have had to go back to conventional because they couldn't get the money from their tea sales to cover the cost of organic and fair trade production. We can't allow that to happen. Only through direct trade can we change the tide on that. The challenge with so many tea companies is that they don't go to the gardens. So therefore, they will switch garden to garden to garden through a broker service to get the best price per pound or kilo. Tea can be as cheap as 17 cents a kilo, even cheaper. We pay a minimum of $4 to $7 a kilo so that they can always count on that as their base price to fund these programs. But then they also get the fair trade premium on top of that, which is another 50 cents a kilo that goes directly to the workers, no middleman, and they get to vote on where that's going to be used. I am here with Ranjani. She is the head of the joint body at Adelgacina. She votes and tells the manager where they are choosing to spend their fair trade dollars. Is that correct, Yana?
Yes.
And we are at about 4,000 feet in this tea area here. And these tea plants are plucked every 7 days. And they're plucked right here. So right here they're plucked like this, and they pluck only the top 2 leaves and the bud. So this is my product. I make this in America, and this is, oh well, this one has your tea in it. So when you take the top off, this is a sachet from the tea, and so this is
இது வந்து நம்மளுடைய தேயிலையை போயிட்டு எப்படி அவங்க பேக் பண்ணி விற்கிறாங்கங்கறத உங்களுக்கு காமிக்கிறேன்.
So this turns into this. This is more beautiful, but this tastes great. So it's pretty amazing to be back where I started the tea company in this little cabin in Matilaha Canyon. I was living off the grid. There was solar power. The water all came from the river and went through a little filtration system. And I was basically barefoot and pregnant and working on a book about my gypsy grandparents who survived the concentration camps in World War II and made it to America. So when my son was born, he unfortunately had a birth defect in his kidneys, and I didn't have health insurance. I never anticipated I would have a problem with my child's health. So at a few weeks old, he needed to have a life-saving operation, and I was basically broke. I had a real conversation with God and said, God, what am I going to do? I don't have the money to cover this operation. I spent a lot of time praying, and I saw that I could combine my gypsy heritage with my passion for tea and my background in herbal medicine and aromatherapy, bring them together and create a product line that I could sell to support my child and myself. So I started making blends, got together a little tea cart, wheeled it into my girlfriend's store, and put sage in a baby carrier and started selling my tea off this tea cart. And soon I met some tea growers, and they told me about the plight of the tea pluckers and how the women, in some fields there were infant mortality rates of upwards of 70%. And I couldn't bear it. The fact that my child had a life-saving operation here, and that there were women out there whose children were dying and they had no access to health care. And I thought, that's my life's mission. I was so lucky. Sage had his operations and became very healthy. And I felt that the women in the tea fields weren't given that opportunity. I created Gypsy Tea through poverty, and then I decided to end it with these women, and that's the mission of the company. I went to Sri Lanka very early on in my career in tea, and I got to meet the growers in a particular tea field. And the first thing I said to the tea estate manager, whose name is Yana Sekram, when I arrived was, someday, Yana, I will be married in your tea estate. I want to be a part of your life forever. He laughed and he thought I was just pulling his leg, and a couple years later I called him and said, okay, I found the one, we're coming and we're getting married in your tea estate. So our tea pluckers threw our wedding for us. We had 1,000 people. We fed them a huge feast. It was so amazing, so powerful. And you know, it's just a really small example of what a direct trade model is. It's pure family, a direct line of communication. They become so much a part of your life. There are 500 families living in this tea estate. 2,300 human beings are dedicated to providing and producing tea in this tea estate. The difference is that they are also being taken care of. Clean water systems, no pesticides, herbicides, no fungicides, nothing in their systems, so their cancer rates are near zero. The tea workers in the fields know me. I visit with them, I bring them my tins, I show them what happens to the tea after they pluck it and send it over to me where I add all my spices and flowers. And really the beauty of a direct trade model is that you become a part of their lives. You're a part of their schools. I've watched the children grow up. I've watched the new housing starts. They're solar powering all their housing now. They're paying for half of the workers' housing. I really feel that we have much to learn of this tea estate. The products they're creating make our teas taste even better. And the thing that so few people realize about tea is it's such a handmade product. It takes 2,000 individual plucks of a woman's hand to produce 1 kilogram of tea. Her daily quota is 8 kilos a day. That's 16,000 individual wrist moves to put the tea on the basket that's weighted on her head. And she carries it then down to the edge of the tea estate, and they put it onto the burlap sacks, they tie it up, and they send it on its way to get weighed. That is so much physical labor. That woman makes an average of $1.35 a day. Our tea estate workers make about $12 a day. Many tea estate workers only make $56 a month. Our tea estate workers are able to make much more than that through all these different programs, as well as their basic needs are met. Therefore, they are no longer in survival mode, and they can then focus on the most important things in life: loving, being loved, raising children, spirituality, and having a healthy and happy environment. Continue to look for ways to help what you're doing here. I buy your tea and share it with the American market. I tell your story daily, and I will continue to help everything you're doing here in all the ways in my power. Thank you very much.